Have you ever tried so hard to be better, to rebuild your life, to bridge the gap in your spirit, and yet you still feel stuck, like you're running a race on a treadmill? No matter how deep you pray, no matter how hard you push, there's a hollow space that won't stay filled. But what if the problem isn't your effort? What if you aren't failing, you're just exhausted from fighting the wrong battle? Everything in your life is about to shift. The weight is about to lift. And it all starts the moment you truly understand one word: abide. In the Gospel of John, chapter 15, Jesus delivers a message that does something radical. It completely flips the script on how we achieve growth, peace, and strength. Most of us treat our spiritual life like a battery we have to keep charging, but Jesus describes it as something else entirely. By the end of this video, you're gonna see exactly how to experience a peace that stays, without the frantic forcing, without the spiritual burnout, and without the exhaustion of trying to fix yourself. I'm gonna show you the secret of the vine and why your struggle might actually be standing in the way of your breakthrough. Imagine two people, both chasing the exact same thing, a life that matters. The first person is a striver. They wake up every day and do the work. They read the books, they check the boxes, they push themselves to be better through sheer willpower. But if you look closely at their eyes, they're exhausted. They're terrified that if they stop pushing for even a second, it'll all fall apart. To them, faith feels like an endless to-do list. Then there's the second person. Let's call them the abider. Their life isn't perfect. They face the same storms and the same stress, but they move with a strange, steady calmness. They aren't panicked. They aren't burnt out. If you ask them their secret, they wouldn't give you a list of hacks. They'd tell you that the difference isn't how hard they're running, it's who they're rooted in. One is trying to generate power, the other is simply plugged in. The difference isn't effort, it's connection. Before we can even touch the word abide, we have to understand the moment it was spoken. This isn't a casual sermon on a Sunday afternoon. This is the upper room, the shadows are long, the tension is thick, and the clock is ticking. Jesus knows that in just a few hours, everything's going to change. He's about to leave his disciples to face a world that will try to break them. If you knew you only had a few minutes left with the people you loved most, you wouldn't waste time on small talk. You'd give them the master key. And notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't give them a 10-step plan to change the world. He doesn't tell them to hustle for the kingdom or try harder to be holy. Instead, he looks them in the eye and gives them one singular urgent command: abide in me. Jesus uses an illustration so simple a child can understand it, yet so deep we spend a lifetime mastering it. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Let's strip away the religious talk and look at the mechanics. The vine, this is the source. It holds the water, the nutrients, and the life force. The branch, this is you. You are the extension. The fruit, this is the result. The peace, the joy, and the character that grows in your life. Now, here is the truth that changes your entire day. A branch never works to produce a grape. Have you ever seen a branch grunting? Have you ever seen a branch stressed out, wondering if it's doing enough to make fruit happen? Of course not. The branch doesn't create the life, it only receives the life. The branch has only one job: stay attached. If the connection is solid, the fruit is inevitable. If you are struggling to be good or peaceful, it's a sign you've stopped being a branch and you're trying to be the vine. The word abide sounds poetic, but in the original Greek, it's incredibly practical. It means to remain, to stay, to dwell. Think about the difference between a tourist and a resident. A tourist checks in. They visit for a weekend, take a few photos, and then they leave. A lot of us treat our relationship with God like a tourist. We check in on Sunday mornings, or we visit when our life hits a crisis and we need a miracle. But a branch doesn't visit the vine. If it did, it would wither in hours. Abiding isn't a performance, it's a placement. It means not a visit. You don't leave him when the prayer is over. Not a transaction. You don't do things to get things. A dwelling. You bring him into your commute, your difficult conversations, your lunch break, and your rest. The pressure's off. You don't have to reach him. You just have to stop leaving him. Think about your phone for a second. The exact moment you pull that plug, your phone doesn't just shut off, right? It still looks fine. It still works. You can still scroll, text, and watch videos, but the countdown has started. It's slowly, silently draining. That is exactly how so many of us are living our spiritual lives. We aren't bad people. We haven't walked away from our faith. We've just unplugged. We're running on yesterday's charge. We're trying to handle handle today's stress, tomorrow's worries, and next week's goals on 12% battery. You're wondering why you're irritable, why you're anxious, and why you feel so empty even when you're doing all the right things. It's because you're trying to operate out of a source you aren't currently plugged into. A phone doesn't have to try to get power, it just has to stay on the charger. If you feel like you're running on fumes, maybe it's time to stop trying to optimize your apps and just reconnect to the power. When you stop abiding, your soul starts sending you signals. It's like the dashboard of a car. You wouldn't get mad at the low fuel light for turning on, you'd just realize it's time to pull over. If you've been feeling these 4 things lately, it's not a sign that you're a bad person or a weak Christian. It's a sign that you are running on empty, drained. You wake up tired before the day even starts. Anxious. You feel like everything depends on you and your ability to hold it all together. Empty. You're achieving things, but none of it tastes like success anymore. Constantly striving. You're working harder but gaining less ground. Hear this clearly. These feelings aren't a punishment, they are a reminder. They are your soul's way of saying, I wasn't built to do this alone. The pressure you feel is the result of trying to be the vine when you were only ever meant to be a branch. You don't need a better strategy. You don't need more hustle. You just need to come back home. This is the exact point where most of us get it wrong. We see a problem in our life, our temper, our anxiety, our lack of purpose, and we immediately switch into management mode. We think, if I just pray longer, if I just read more, if I just grit my teeth and try harder, I'll finally grow. But look closely at John 15. Jesus never once tells the branch to try harder. He doesn't say, exert more effort to push out a grape. He says the one thing our ego hates to hear, apart from me, you can do nothing. He doesn't say you can do some things. He doesn't say you'll just be less effective. He says nothing. Trying harder to be spiritual without abiding is like trying to make a lamp glow by polishing the bulb while it's still unplugged. You can rub that bulb until your hands bleed, but it will never give off light. The growth you're looking for isn't a reward for your sweat. It's a byproduct of your surrender. You don't need a monastery or a mountaintop to abide. You just need to flip these 3 internal switches throughout your normal busy day. Switch 1, the narrative switch. Stay in His Word. Most of us spend our day reacting. We react to a stressful email, a rude comment, or a bad news headline. When we react, we're operating out of our own limited battery. The flip before you react, pause. Instead of letting the world's noise dictate your mood, let a single truth from God's Word shape your perspective. The mantra, I am not what my stress says I am. I am who God says I am. Many people think prayer is a meeting they have to schedule, but you don't visit the vine, you stay attached to it. The flip, move from long-distance prayer to constant connection. Talk to God like He's in the room with you while you're doing the dishes, driving to work, or sitting in a meeting. The practice, short breath prayers. Just a few words to acknowledge He is right there. The alignment switch, obedience isn't about following rules to keep God happy. It's about staying in the flow of power. Every time you choose God's way over your own impulse, you aren't earning points, you're clearing the line. The flip, see obedience as protection, not restriction. The result, when you align your life with His, the power of the vine flows into the branch without any resistance. When you finally stop trying and start abiding, the atmosphere of your life begins to shift. It's not an overnight magic trick, it's a natural transformation. Think about it. You don't have to tell a healthy tree to grow apples. It just happens because the tree is healthy. When you are connected to the source, your character stops being a project and starts being a product. Peace isn't a goal. You don't have to force yourself to be calm anymore. You simply experience a peace that doesn't make sense given your circumstances. Joy isn't a chase. You stop hunting for the next high. Instead, a deep, steady joy begins to bubble up from within you, even on the hard days. Strength isn't a strain. You find yourself handling things that used to break you, not because you got tougher, but because the vine is providing the power. Your life begins to produce fruit, patience, kindness, and purpose naturally. You aren't a factory worker anymore, struggling to meet a quota. You're a branch, and the life of God is flowing through you. So here is the absolute truth you can rest in today. The Christian life is not a testing ground to see how much you can handle. It is a living connection to the one who handles everything. It's time to stop the exhausting cycle of trying to will yourself into a better person. It's not about striving, it's about abiding. It's not about your power, it's about His source. It's not about doing more, it's about staying near. If you're tired of being tired, stop trying to fix the branch and just return to the vine. The moment you stop trying to do it all yourself is the exact moment everything finally begins to change. So the next time you feel that familiar heaviness, when you feel drained, empty, or completely overwhelmed by the weight of your life, do not try harder. Don't go back to the battery life. Don't go back to the hamster wheel of striving. Instead, use that feeling as a signal to do one thing. Reconnect, breathe, pause, reach out, because everything you've been exhausting yourself to find, the peace that lasts, the strength that doesn't quit, and the joy that isn't fake, it all flows from a single quiet place. It doesn't come from your hustle. It comes from your home. Stop trying. Start abiding. If these words hit a place in your soul that's been feeling a little too dry lately, don't just scroll past. Let's make a move toward the vine right now. Go down to the comments and type, "Lord, teach me to abide." By typing those words, you're telling your heart that the striving is over and the connection has begun. And if you know someone who's currently running on 1% battery, someone who is exhausted, anxious, or just plain tired of trying, share this with them. Give them the permission they need to stop pushing and start resting. And finally, if you want more of these simple, life-shifting biblical truths delivered straight to your feed, subscribe to Bible Resolve. Let's stop the hustle together. Let's learn to stay connected. I'll see you in the next one.